You said never let me go. You said never let me.
Hey guys, so it is January 1st, so Happy New Year. And for the first time I think ever, I've got 4 videos up in a month, which is the goal I initially set out for myself. So this isn't going to be a vlog like the other 3. This is my December wrap up. So if you've been here for the past couple of months, you know I had a very slumpy quarter. September, October, November, very slumpy, didn't read much. December really turned that around, and I think it's because I decided, screw the TBR, I'm just going to read what I want to read. And it worked out really well. You'll see in this wrap up, there is a mixture of fiction, non-fiction, manga, it's a bit of everything, a bit of smart. So I did kick off the month with my smart because obviously I can read them really quickly. They're typically not very long and they are very engaging, so it was a good thing to get me out the slump. So I read Blood Moon by Gillian Graves. I have read Titan from her before and really enjoyed it. And then I read 2 books from a new author. I read Threads of Fate and Wet Dream by Lexi Esme. Blood Moon was a 5 stars. I love Gillian Graves' writing and how she takes a creature and weaves this world, sort of similar to C.M. Nacosta's Cambit Creek. You know, the way they interact with non-humans and humans, the way they interact is very similar. Focuses on vampire and a witch. Absolutely adored it. So good. Threads of Fate was a 4. Really good. Just very slow start. And then Wet Dream was a 4.5. It was good, but it was just missing a little bit of length that I needed because it was really, really short. All of these also have either plus size representation or BIPOC representation, which was really nice to see. I then went to, I think it's an old school mystery. It looks like an old school mystery, reads like one, but I'm not sure whether it is. But it was the Nightingale Gallery by Paul Doherty. This is set, I can't even remember when it says. I think it's like Victorian. I think it's earlier than Victorian actually. But it's set in London, and we are following a monk, Brother Althuslan, who is the assistant to London's city coroner. And basically he goes along with Sir John when murders happen, and he takes notes and provides a second opinion for Sir John. The dynamic between these two is a cross between brothers and old married couple. Like, they act like brothers, they, banter with each other, they're a bit both hard-headed, they butt heads, but they bicker like an old married couple. And it's an insanely cute dynamic, and it's very funny. The mystery itself wasn't amazing, and it was, for that story anyway, self-contained. I don't know whether the series is going to continue this way. I've only started reading it because I ended up picking up books 10 and 11 at a charity shop, because they weren't numbered. I didn't know where they sat in the series, and it's a 20-book series, so I don't know if I'm going to commit to that just yet, because if they're all individual self-contained mysteries, I might read like 3 or 4 and then put it down. But if an overarching plot does come into it, then I will really look into it. So yeah, that ended up being a 3.5, very mid, but worth the read. I then read Convicting the Moore's Murderers by Chris Cook. That was a 4 stars. Really enjoyed it for non-fiction. I'm really in my true crime era, have been for years at this point. But I like this one because it focuses not on the crimes themselves, but the arrest, the trial, the aftermath, the time in prison, the kind of portion of the story that people tend to forget about, which I really enjoyed. And then went back to a bit of smut just to lighten the mood with Girls Weekend by C.M. Lacosta. I love her Camber Creek series, so I decided to pick this one up, and it's basically three women go on a weekend getaway to an orc nudist retreat, and hijinks ensue. But it was fun, it was quick, it was adorable, and I loved it. Then I went back to non-fiction for quite a while. I read Page Boy by Elliot Page. Great memoir. I'm not a memoir person, but recently I've read quite a few that have been amazing. That was a solid 5 stars. If you're interested in Elliot Page's life, or even the story since coming out, definitely pick it up. Then I had my one and only DNF of the month, which was Quietly Hostile by Samantha Irby. Now, I'd heard a lot of great things about this, but I just didn't connect with any of the essays, and I got to one in particular that had a lot of toilet humour, and it just really put me off, and I was done with it, so that got a DNF. But then I read 2 5-star non-fictions back to back, which were Butts, a backstory by Heather Act. That was amazing. It has a really weird premise, but when you actually read it, there's a lot more aspects she looks at rather than just the attraction of the butt and the sexualization of the butt. It's more about how did the butt influence society, societal taboos, fashion, all these things, and really good read. And then I read Bad Gays, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmy, which was amazing. Both of the authors for this book are gay men, so it's written by gay men and talks primarily about gay men. But it looks at the so-called bad gays throughout history and how homosexuality has changed over time, both in how accepted it is in society and what it actually means to be homosexual. I really enjoyed it. The audiobook as well is outstanding, highly recommended it. And then, because I'm an absolute nerd, I read Slaying the Dragon, a Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons by Ben Riggs. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, I would love to, but I'm going to hold off. I'm waiting to get Baldur's Gate, because Baldur's Gate is very, very heavily based on Dungeons and Dragons, so if I really enjoy that, then I might see if I can find a campaign to join. But yeah, if you are interested in D&D board games in general, like how they come to be, then definitely check this out. It's a lot more than just Dungeons and Dragons, because the company that created Dungeons and Dragons also turned out other games. They turned out novels, so there's a lot that goes on, but it focuses very much on this one company throughout its entirety, so it's brilliant. I then had my one of the authors I work with, B.L. Wild, send me her arc of Mr. Rich, which is the 7th, I want to say 7th, novella in the Human Mating Site series, Mr. Rich. Short, punchy, really good. Follows Bella, a soon-to-be divorcee, basically as she rediscovers her sexuality, her femininity, her confidence. Each book tends to follow a different male lead, but yeah, now we're halfway through. I really want while to start threading the end game. Who is going to be end game? Because I can tell you, nothing would upset me more than getting to the end and being like, oh, Bella just decided to stay single. I would rage. But then I went back to non-fiction. I read Finding Me by Viola Davis, another memoir, absolutely solid, 5 stars, highly recommend. She's obviously a very well-known actress, been in The Help, How to Get Away with Murder, and much, much more. But her life was utterly heartbreaking. A lot of the stuff that happens to her, I was just on the verge of tears for most of it, but in like the best way possible. So I would highly recommend that. Then I went to manga and graphic novels. I read the Fairy Tale Omnibus 1, which is the first 3 volumes of Fairy Tale. Really nostalgic. I think I stopped watching Fairy Tale after about season 3, the anime. But I'd never really read the manga, and from what I can see in the first 3 volumes, extremely faithful adaptation. Then I also read Cells at Work, Omnibus 1. Cells at Work is only 6 volumes. This is half the entire series. Again, the anime, from what I saw, extremely faithful adaptation. Both of those were 4 stars. Cute, nostalgic, just great palate cleansers. And then I read a graphic novel, the Dyatlov Pass Mystery by Cedric Mahan. If you are a true crime and solved mysteries fan like myself, you've probably heard of the Dyatlov Pass Mystery. If you haven't, look it up. But I will advise having a fairly strong stomach because it's weird and gross and more than a little gory. But remains unsolved to this day, and one thing I really liked about this graphic novel is it told the story from both the investigative side and the people who were involved in the incident, without bringing any conspiracy theories into it. It really sticks to the known facts of the case, which admittedly aren't a lot, but it's good. And then I capped off the month with probably one of the best duologies I've read in recent years. And they were Song of Silver, Flames at Night, and Dark Star Burning, Ash Falls White by Emily Wen Zhao. Now, this focuses a lot on Chinese mythology and Chinese folklore. And book 1 I loved, with following Lan, who is a song girl in a tea house. Basically, her mother was killed, and she basically branded Lan with this strange character, and she's trying to figure out what it is. And in doing so, she gets sucked into this whole new world, and it's brilliant. The second book, the first half had me genuinely disliking it because it lost a lot of the elements I really loved from book 1. But then that second half, and particularly that ending, emotionally destroyed me. And I don't know how I feel about it.
Oh. Who's that?
I'm filming, Mo.
Oh.
Bye! That was my little brother, by the way. So yeah, book 1 got a 4.75, and the second book was a 5. If you're a fan of folklore and other books like Daughter of the Moon Goddess, then you will really like Song of the Last Kingdom duology. It was brilliant, it broke my heart, and it's going to stay with me for a while, especially that ending. That ending, I genuinely almost cried over. And it still gets to me right now, even though it's been like 2 days since I finished it. I'm like, it's still getting to me. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. Great. Be on the lookout for my January TBR. It's not kind of a strict TBR, but it will be just generally what I want to get to this month. So I shall see you around, guys.